No, normal one-to-one input bindings. There isn't anything weird going on in that regard. No, I am on keyboard. Oh wow, that was too close. Nope, I have arrow keys. It's perfectly normal, I promise. Ah! At least I hit a checkpoint. I have Alt down to dash and F4 on jump. Blame Hempuli for this, not me. So I can hyperdash. I just have to be very careful about it. And honestly, this isn't. This is. I might try and do farewell with this because this is actually a lot easier than I was expecting. I expected it to be really hard just to adapt to the weird locations of the inputs, but I'm not having much trouble. Yeah, it's inspired by a game called It's a Me by Hempuli, um, which is a hilarious game. Very calm, awake strats. I'm not going to do, like, anything here until I hit the checkpoint. Cool. It's not gonna be really... I'm not gonna be super worried about it until I get more used to this input setup, because the more... Actually, the more used I get to this, the more at threat I am at just, like, being able to go autopilot. I think it would be a lot harder if it was like the two inputs were flipped. Um, but then we wouldn't get like funny bird cutscene where bird says press Alt F4 to do tech. So, because I can press F4 then Alt just fine. Like that doesn't do anything, which is not the case in Hempuli's game, but. I did the jump input. That was actually really close. I did the jump input for hyper, but like managed to avoid doing the dash input. If I do a hyper, the game crashes. Those were very close together. I'm not a fan of that. I'll get this. I said I might do farewell, so because this has actually been pretty easy so far. The only crash I've had was basically to demonstrate what was going on. It was actually like I pretended like it was an accident, but it was not an accident. I was just showing off what would happen. Oh, I have to do a manual demo. That's why. Oh, that was probably like a frame or two away from closing the game. I did. I did, in fact, say Pikachu. I'm stunned these aren't crashing. I'm playing, like, super aggressively. What's really funny is that I can actually do grounded ultras. Okay, so what I was saying. Whoops! I tried to do a super. I realized what was going to happen right before I did it. Fourth try, cliff face. I'm gonna try to do this. Let's go. Let's go! I can't believe I actually got that. Whoops. That's 6 now. At least I haven't had any, like, really late in the checkpoint. Theo is always really rough in any weird input shenanigans stuff. I'm not gonna try that. Not even gonna bother trying to go for this. This is a checkpoint where you do, like, buffered supers / hypers, but that will close the game. No, not gonna try to do that. That's a bad idea. Dang it. Okay, what's hilarious is I think that up to that death, this could have PB'd Reflection. That's how bad my Reflection PB is. Okay, it wouldn't have quite PB'd, but it could have come close. Which is ridiculous. Oops. 7. That one was at the end of a checkpoint, too. It's rough. Yeah, consider the lesson learned. I'm just gonna do that. Want to do one where I have dash bound to Windows key? That was a thing. Okay, so what's prone to close the game is that I am actually starting to get used to the inputs. Like, I can't buffer a hyper input. I do focus on separating the inputs, but, like, I can't do a B-hop, or I can't do a B-hop, like, from a buffered hyper. I can't, like, buffer a super. And so I'm getting used to the input setups, but I'm thinking in terms of the actual moves Valorant should do instead of the buttons I should press, which means if I just start going on autopilot, I can close the game at any point. And I am actively having to not do that. Like, I want to do a hyper here, but have to be conscious of that. And it's been a while since I've done that without demos. In my brain, I demoed, but in actuality, I don't have a demo button, so I did not actually demo. Whoops! That's 8. Hard part about this room is having to do it at all. I don't think I can do the skip like this. Not any inputs I couldn't execute. Like, not any inputs that would close the game. It's just hard to would be very hard to execute with this input setup. Having to do this the correct way is so weird. I'll take like 3 attempts at this. This hasn't actually been half bad so far, just because, like, casual strats for this part do not involve tough inputs at all. Like, maybe timing-wise, but I have played this game a few times. Yeah. Anyway. Whoops! Wow, this room is... This part is gonna be easy because of the casual inputs. No, you have to jump off a fish, and I typically hold jump very early to jump off a fish. Okay, my normal setup for this will close the game. Legitimately have to think about this one a bit. Like, I do a buffered super and a buffered hyper. And I can't do either of those. Can easily get around the first, the second's a little harder. That'll do it. I can't just turn on debug mode because my grab button is a hotkey in debug mode. I have a grab on F1 just because it's the most convenient thing to hit. It's just where my pinky is if I have my fingers on Alt F4. This checkpoint's gonna be rough. I'm scared. That was not a good execution of that room. I'm gonna go for... I'm gonna do casual strat here because that hyper, it seems like it's has a pretty high risk of crashing, of closing the game. I was gonna like make a highlight video and put it on YouTube Mainly just because I think a bird telling you to Alt F4 would be a good clickbait thumbnail. Nice. That's exactly what I meant to do. More people should do that wall jump. I mean, it's like you barely press jump at all in this screen. Like this screen definitely has the. I swear that was a 100% accidental. Yes. Whoops! I 100% thought I was getting through that screen without closing it. I tried to press I just pressed the wrong button. I meant to press grab, but I pressed my jump button instead. So my inputs were in theory fine, but I pressed the wrong button. You know, I was actually planning to get the Moonberry, but whoops. Not sub 2, sad. Not like the time for this would have even mattered. I have to do 7B because that's where the bird will tell me to Alt F4. And I need to screenshot that. And to be honest, that was a bit easier than I expected. I expected to have like 20 game quits. So. Oh, you can just do that. I forget that there are intended strats sometimes, to be honest. Like that. I found that. It's slow. I don't care. It looks cool. Oh, it doesn't actually say. That's unfortunate. I thought it used the actual button presses. Okay, I'm actually going to Alt F4, so. Oh, it is. Yeah, obviously not gonna get here with debug, but now I can make the YouTube title something like, "This bird told me to Alt F4."